Ever wish you had someone to talk to anytime, anywhere, no matter what you're going through? Meet PsychPal, your 24/7 AI companion designed to help you process your thoughts, calm your mind, and keep you moving forward. Chat anytime during a panic attack, on a restless night, or just when you need to vent. Prefer talking instead of typing? Try voice journaling. PsychPal listens, transcribes, and truly understands. You can even upload screenshots of tough conversations and it'll help you unpack how they made you feel. PsychPal keeps life organized too. It can add appointments to your calendar, track your mood, and even summarize your sessions for your therapist so you'll never lose progress. Plus, built in crisis resources are always just one click away. It's a privacy first, constantly evolving, made to complement your professional care, not replace it. Ready to try it out? Head over to the link in this episode and use my code Pete at checkout to get 20% off your first month subscription to PsychPal. PsychPal, because your mind deserves a companion too.
That's how you want less. I don't want to be more, but you know I will not die. You can try no more, just so you can kill my tribe. All the times that I told you, still got my pedal through the metal. Told you I'll be immobile, that's how you want last time. I don't want to be normal, so you can stay inside. That's why they say that you're no good. You see, this world is mine. I'm not leaving you hope for them time. I'm taking mode, I'm loading. I will show them one more, so that's how you one last time. I don't know what's so hard, can you get it through your mind?
Welcome to another exciting episode of Pete for Anxiety. My guest today is an author, a recovery addict, and a speaker with over a decade of sobriety. She's an award-winning author of The Shadows to Serenity, a raw memoir about addiction, trauma, faith, and the rebuilding of life from the ground up. Please welcome in Christi Wedel. Christi, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Pete. How are you?
Doing fantastic. So, Christi, tell me a little bit more about yourself.
Gosh, so let's see. I was born in nobody cares about that. Let's see. So I was actually born in Houston, Texas. I'm a Texan through and through, so don't hate me for that. But yeah, so I was born in Houston, Texas. Let's see. Parents got divorced when I was 3. So you want to go back and hear the story part or just kind of where we are now?
Wherever you want to start, this is your episode. You tell everybody what they want to know. What are the things you want people to know best about you?
Well, I would say my life's work, if I could just create the most perfect career path or the most perfect job for me would be to be able to monetize while helping people recover. So that would be like my ideal thing. I'd love to be known for helping people recover from drugs and alcohol, showing women specifically, men too, that there is a way out no matter what kind of background you come from, whether it's a traumatic childhood or abusive relationships, domestic violence, any of those types of things. There is hope for recovery and that you can live a healthy, happy life. So
So,
being known for that, and then also being known for being a good mom and a good Mimi, because I have 2 grandbabies.
well, that's awesome too. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about your story of recovery itself? Like where did you start from? Was it at an early age you had the addiction problem?
No, not at all. In fact, I was what most people in the recovery space would call like a late bloomer, right? Like I didn't even actually start drinking until 16, which, really from where I'm from, that was pretty late. I mean, people were drinking at like, 12, 13, 14. And so the difference is, Pete, though, for me, though, the first time I ever drank alcohol, I drank alcoholically, meaning I was in a group of friends and we all tried alcohol. I don't know if you recall the first time you ever tried alcohol, but unless you were drinking something fruity and fun, it really doesn't taste all that great. So you don't go,
No.
wow, that tastes
Right.
wonderful, right? But for me, it was nothing about the taste at all. It was all about the way it made me feel. For me, coming from the childhood I came from and really just my personality in general, just the name of your podcast, Pete versus Anxiety. I have severe anxiety. So even as a young child and into my teen years, I was just always like this, just and so when I drank the first drink of alcohol, it just kind of calmed that down enough to where I could like baseline function and conversate with people. So I immediately fell in love with that feeling. So that's why I say I drank alcoholically from the beginning because I wanted to change the way that I felt. And even though I didn't have words to put to it, that is what I was actually doing. And so while everybody else around me was like, "Ooh, that's gross," or "Ooh, that made me throw up," or whatever. I was like, "Give me more, give me the whole thing as much as possible." And then that would actually, basically, I guess you would say, set me up for the next 25 plus years of, that was my compass. So it was like, wherever I can get drunk is
Yeah.
where I find my happy place, so to speak. And to answer your question, really drinking was so much fun for such a long time. And it wasn't until the very end that it was horrific, for me anyway. My bottom is what they call a really low bottom. But for the longest time, I had fun. I got divorced in my 20s, and I go and I buy a convertible and I, do some body modifications and whatever. And so I'm just out partying, having a good time, thinking I'm not hurting anyone. I'm just, having a good time. And it worked for a really, really long time. And it wasn't until um, you know, I was 38 when four major things happened that year, and one of them being my best friend died in his sleep from alcohol and drugs. And it really just threw me into just drinking night and day. And now I'm at the point where I'm completely unemployable, just wasting away. And so it was a long, arduous process to becoming a true alcoholic, if you will. Once the alcohol took control at the end, I was no longer in charge of whether I was going to drink or not. It was as much as like breathing is to every single one of us. That is how bad I needed the alcohol at the end. It
Yeah.
was
So
rough.
when your friend passed away, did you blame yourself for it? Were they partying a lot with you though when that whole thing went down and things like that?
Yeah, so we had partied together for like 5 years straight. I mean,
Oh,
every
okay.
weekend, every holiday, and, I went toe to toe with this guy. I mean, we were like neck and neck. You drink a shot, I drink a shot. You do a line, I do a line. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we partied together, and it just so happened that, he passed away and I was still doing everything he was doing. So there was this immense guilt of, I mean, thank God it wasn't me, right? But like, also, why wasn't it me? Why was it him? And it was that whole thing.
Yeah, a lot of remorse, and like guilt that, you blame yourself like, well, he was doing the same thing I was. Why didn't it happen to him? Yeah, I get that feeling, it's like, was it really heavy on you though? I mean, it had to be hard though. Were you the one that found him or was it just somebody else found him?
It was somebody else that found him, but they called me, and it's one of those things where I think people forget, or maybe they're just not cognizant of it. But when someone passes away, it's like, please don't text their loved ones or their friends. Like, I think it's just, and maybe again, that's all that person could do. Maybe they were at work or something, but to find out over a text was just, it was awful because you don't know what's happened. All you know is they passed away, and there's so many questions that go along with that. But yeah, I mean, I was already at that point in my alcoholism where I was about to not be able to be employed. In fact, they called me at work and I had to go home. And of course, the first thing I did when I went home was I drank myself into oblivion. Um, but I was at that point where I was at work that day and I was very, very shaky. And so people were noticing, they just didn't care because I was really good at my job, but it was very obvious at that point that I had a serious problem.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah.
and it's okay. So let's back that a little bit to you were texted and told that they passed away. What the hell kind of crap is that?
Yeah, so listen, whoever's listening to this, please don't do that. Please wait till you can call somebody because it was devastating to find out over text, and it seemed quite impersonal, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
Text
this is
messages can feel
someone
that way though.
And this is someone that I spent every day, every night with all the time. This was, like I said, we were, just really, really close friends, and so to find out that way was devastating, really. And I think
Yeah,
the
I
person
don't think
who's
I think I would react the same way. I would have been kind of a little pissed off to him and like, really, you're gonna text me? You could have like, hey Pete, I gotta talk to you about something. Like, give me a call at 911. or something. Tell me like there's an
Yeah.
emergency. Hey, I need to talk to you about something pretty important. Give me a call right away. Not text me. Hey, so and so just died. What?
Yeah, it
What?
was like that. Yes, yes, it was terrible.
And it's just like, it's horrible. So then did you go to the funeral? I mean, I know it's tough when it comes to death for people because, grief is such a strange topic for a lot of people because a lot of people don't know how to handle it. Like they're not sure what to say to you. Did a lot of people like reach out to you with weird messages or you know what I'm saying? Like that whole
Yeah.
thing, it had to be real awkward for people that knew you were like, "Oh, Chrissy, I'm sorry." And then they want to tell you about their problems. It's like, well, I don't give a fuck about your problems right now. My friend just died here. Let's talk about this. Not worry about that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, people just don't know. They don't know what to do with their hands when someone passes away. And especially when it's someone young. I mean, this guy was, relatively young. He was 37. That is young. And so, yeah, I think people were really just and then everybody's got to chime in on Facebook and stuff. And I'm like, I don't,
God, yeah.
I'm like, do we really, is this what we're doing
Chrissy's
now?
like, "Can you please stop messaging me now? I hate you all,
Yeah. I'm
please."
like, you have my phone number, but, like, you're sending me a message on Facebook. It just is not it's
Yeah,
and again, like you said, everybody deals with grief differently. Some people were probably thinking, "Well, I don't wanna call and bug her," or, "I don't want," but here's my take. When someone passes away, like, give that person a call, like, whether
yeah.
it's a wife or whether it's a best friend or a sister or brother, family member, whatever, because even if they can't talk, they will appreciate the fact that you tried to reach out. I felt like people on Facebook, and this may just be me and my weirdness,
No,
but
no,
I
it's
felt
your
like they
opinion,
were
though. Think
doing
about
that.
it. What you're saying right now is your opinion. This is how you feel about it. You're not wrong for giving out how you feel about it. Like, when I'm depressed, I don't tell people because they'll go, "Oh, I'm so sorry," or they'll tell you to share. I don't want to hear all that shit. I don't want to hear you. I'm sorry's. You know what I mean? So I get where you're coming from with this. So what you're saying is your opinion. So you can continue, but you know what I'm saying? I'm just like, you're basically giving out how you feel about it. Like if someone doesn't like that, I'm sorry. That's just how you feel about it, though.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, and you bring up a good point. It's like, we are allowed to feel how we feel, whatever that looks like.
Exactly.
And it's always shaped by so many, millions of nuances of where we came from, what we've been exposed to, or what experiences we had. And so, yeah, it's all relative, but yeah, pick up the phone would be my suggestion.
Right. She's like, pick up the phone and call me if you have my number, because we had a friend of the show. She lost her son. In fact, the episode I was listening to, she was telling the story about it. She unfortunately found him in his room, passed away.
Oh,
Okay, so she calls 911 and gets a prompt, and I was pissed at that point in this message, but the thing was, it's like, I could say a lot of things, but I think that was the first time ever I've rendered myself completely speechless because I didn't know what to say to her. Like, I went to type this message to her, and I was going to call her because I know I didn't want to call her and overwhelm her. I knew she had a lot of things going on. And someone had told me, like, hey, listen, did you hear what happened? And I was like, no, what happened? And then I saw the message. Someone sent me the Facebook post where she was talking about it. And I was like, oh, shit. So, like, I'm
yeah,
sitting there thinking about it for like an hour, what to say to her, and I just kept typing messages and deleting them. And I told her this. I was like, dude, I couldn't think of anything to say to you besides, listen, I love you. If you need anything, message me. I'm here. And she said, yeah. She said, thank you. And normally her stance was like, a lot of people don't want to be bombarded with messages and all these calls and things like that, but she's like, she appreciated the fact that people are reaching out and I told her, it's like, I didn't know what to say, man. And like I said, I'm a man of many words. Like I host this podcast, I record many episodes, as I was telling you before we started, but I had nothing to say in this thing. I was just like, I don't even know what to say right now. This is just like, wow. It's hard when,
yeah,
especially when it's people, and it's like, then she went and told the story about it. And I was just like, holy crap, because she called
yeah.
911 and got a prompt. I'm like, you got a prompt and you call 911. What the hell kind of
Gosh,
shit is that? You know what I'm saying? It's like, what the hell, dude?
that's
So,
wild. I didn't even know
you
that
know,
was a thing.
that's what I said too. I'm like, is this really a thing? Like, she's in Oklahoma, I'm in Texas, so I'm like, wait, maybe that's just Oklahoma, man. There's no way in hell that's even like that. They can't give you a prompt. She's like, yeah, I got a prompt, and I was like, oh no. And she's describing this in an interview she's doing with somebody. She's telling the story about it, and you just hear her telling. I'm like, I'm getting madder by the minute as I'm listening to this thing. I had to pause at that part of it and take a break. I was like, yeah, I'm done. I got to take a break of this thing. I'm so pissed at this point. I'm so mad. He just see me. I'm mad. He yells. So he's like, what's wrong? I said, I got to tell you about this bullshit I heard, And it was like, that was a big hang up for me.
But it's
Yeah.
just like, it's hard though. So let's get into Shadows to Serenity. Okay. So when you wrote this book, I mean, you literally had to get real about this. Like, let's be real. You're really telling the whole story of your life. What were people's responses that knew you close enough that didn't realize how bad you were struggling? Because you went into everything, I'm assuming, the trauma, everything like that. I mean, you revealed it all, I would take it, yes?
I did, and it was you bring up a great point when you say, how did people or ask the question, how did people react? And to be honest, it cost me some very dear relationships, two specifically with family members that will never be the same. And that part was and is devastating because I just published it back in August, and so it hasn't even been a year. And so but so let me back up just a little bit. It took me about 4.5, almost 5 years to write the book for multiple reasons. One, I was kind of going boxing with the universe saying, I don't want to do this because I have a 10th grade education. Why does anyone care about my trauma? Everybody's got trauma. If you're born in the 70s, 80s, 60s, you have trauma, right? And so I was just like, I don't want to go and throw all my stuff out there. And I kept just not I'm not crazy. Well, I am a little bit, but like I kept feeling that urge of you have to
Yeah.
write it, you have to write it. And so kicking and screaming, I finally wrote the book, but I would write, half a chapter and I would have to take off a couple of months, because some of it was really, really difficult to write. I
Yeah.
tried to skate around some of the difficult parts and I knew that wasn't I mean, to give you an example, chapter 4 is the most graphic, meaning it qualifies me to be able to be an expert, if you will, in trauma, because I feel like those of us who have been through things like that can really only hear from people who have actually been there. And so, at least that was my experience with my alcoholism, but more on that a little later. So, yeah, with the book, I knew I couldn't cut any corners. I tried to leave
So
that chapter out.
So while we're on chapter 4 really fast, what kind of trauma does it fall in though? Little bit maybe because you're in a safe space. To remind you, this is a safe space. You can say whatever you like
Yeah.
in this room. Trust me. There's a story I had this morning that I recorded that let me tell you is going to blow the socks off of people that I've heard some wild things. So you're in a safe space, so you can share as much as you want. But you don't have to give away a lot because we want people to go read the book. Obviously, we want them to go check out this book because she took the time to write this. You obviously got to see this. But what would you say it falls in? What categories? You can kind of give us a little run
Yeah.
over it.
So I'll give it to you. I'll give it to you in more of like a timeline
Okay.
version. And then if you read the book, then that has all of the
Well, I'm gonna read the
details
book. I'm
where it
curious now
makes
because
sense.
I've
Well,
got a
I'll send
stack of
you a
books I
book.
have to. Well, okay, listen. If you're sending me one, you have to sign it. That's the only requirement I have for all my guests. I want a signed copy because that right there has most of my other books that are signed copies of books I got from people that I'll definitely read. It's on the stack of things to read. I just got the blurred lines from Lauren Faye's book. I have to read too. I just got that the other day from her as well and things like that. So I'll add it to the stack of books I read. But I definitely will. I have like a stack. But I will. But I'm for sure definitely want to read it. So,
Yeah. So basically, what happened with me is that, parents got divorced when I was 3. I have an older sister who's 4 years older than me. So we went to live with dad because mom didn't have the money to keep us. So we
okay.
live with dad. Dad gets remarried to the wicked stepmom, so to speak.
No.
And she is everything that you can imagine um in terms of the wicked stepmother. And so she was abusive to both of us in every way that a child can be abused, if you can fill in the blanks there. And so
Yeah, definitely.
chapter 4 goes into details. It talks about the starvation. It talks about the only
Jesus.
thing I don't go into great detail is the sexual abuse,
Yeah, no, I get that.
because I didn't even know about that. I had blocked that out
Mhm.
until I received my official records from the state of Texas that had 80 pages of like
Holy
details of all
crap.
of that stuff.
80 pages. Wow.
Yeah. 80 pages over an 8-year period of time, that's the time that we were abused, was a full 8 years
Wow.
of abuse. And it was everything from, being locked in the closet to beat with all kinds of things. And like I said, the sexual abuse was that I think my mind or my higher power that I believe in was protecting me from remembering all of that. Um, but I mean, just being beat relentlessly over a long period of time, and then finally the state of Texas came in and intervened, and then they had. Let's see, they went to parenting classes, and I think for 6 months they had to go to therapy. And then the state of Texas put us back in the home. And then the abuse was horrific. It was way worse than it was before.
Jesus.
And so talk about like a failure of the system, 100%. And then finally, eventually, we were taken out permanently and placed in the foster system, which is a horrible place to be. The sexual abuse that happened in those types of places
Yeah.
happened to me and my sister. And then, so all of these things, those didn't turn me into an alcoholic, though. I truly believe it, there's lots of people that come from tons of different types of trauma, some even worse than mine, believe it or not. And they don't, go on to become alcoholics. I think in my case, I was desperate to hide and desperate to fit in. I never felt comfortable in my own skin, ever. As far back as I can remember being 2, 3 years old, I
Yeah.
always felt like I was different. Like I just didn't have the memo that you had to how to speak to people and, you know, how to behave and where are these rules. And
Yeah.
come to find out, I was just diagnosed as autistic this past year. And I'm like, holy shit, my whole life makes sense now.
Yeah.
Like all of the,
That's funny because a lot of people are finding that out too, that they're autistic. Me and my girlfriend were talking about my younger brother and like some of the weird mannerisms that she goes, he's probably on the spectrum somewhere. Watch, just because of like the weird things he would do, and the way he just really is kind of like really got quirks. So, Chrissy, let me ask you a question really quick, and you don't have to answer if you don't want to. Uh, did your relationships get really hard though later on? Like, after you left the system and then you were an adult and everything, did you find it hard to be in relationships, going through all the stuff that you've gone through? Like, it had to
yes.
affect the way you looked at things, and the different partners you ran into, to now where you're at now, where your husband now, he had to. Does he know everything?
Well, so I'm single. I don't even have. I'm single mingle. Wait, that didn't sound good. That didn't sound good
Single
at all.
mingle?
No, that sounded desperate. Like I'm single and ready to mingle. I'm like, that's not what I meant to
No.
say. Good grief. So, but it did 100% because I had this fear of abandonment
Mm-hmm.
because my mom was never there. I mean, literally our entire childhood, she was off with some man in a different state in Missouri, and we were here in Texas.
Jesus. Wow.
So there was this gnawing thing in the back of my soul that said, "You're not good enough. Your own mom didn't want you."
Yeah.
And in every relationship, when I got sober and started looking back on my life and working the steps and all that,
Mm-hmm.
looking back on it and going through therapy, I would enter into a romantic relationship with great intentions, and
Mm-hmm.
then eventually, like if they're, how you're going to argue with your significant other. That's
Yeah.
normal.
Yeah, yeah, but
Well,
for
to
your
me,
situation with the fear of abandonment, it had to come in that you're just, like, afraid they're gonna leave because I have a fear of abandonment as well. So I know exactly the feeling you're going with right there, it had to be like you're trying to leave them before they leave you kinda thing. Am I not correct? Is that where this is heading?
that's exactly where it's headed. And so and oh my gosh, I can even see it coming. Like in the past, several years ago when I did have a boyfriend, I'm like, "Oh my gosh, I'm doing it again." So I'm
Mhm.
looking for things. So once we have our first argument, then I'm going to look for things that are non-negotiables. Like, well, we started dating, but is he a Christian? Is he really do I want somebody who goes to
Yeah.
church? What's important to me? Do I, and then again I'm off to the races and you can't convince me otherwise because my mind has told me made up some kind of bullshit for why this man is just not the one for me. And then that's it. And I will self sabotage until it's over.
Yeah, it almost sounds like you may have an undiagnosed case of BPD. You know what that is? Borderline personality disorder a little bit in
Yes,
some ways
yes.
because
I've been diagnosed all kinds of things. So I mean, anxiety, ADHD, those two things for sure. I have that for sure. I take medication for both. And then
yeah.
it's like, well, you're borderline. No, you're bipolar. And I'm just like, okay.
And it's funny when Chrissy says that though, it's because a lot of times they run so similar that it's
Mhm.
like, except for BPD, it's way more extreme. There's a
Yeah.
lot more that goes to it. Yes, my current girlfriend now, she has BPD, and it's like, it's a lot what it sounds like a little bit like that too, because a lot of times people with BPD try to self-sabotage and things like that, all that kind of stuff, because I've done a lot of research before me and her even started, like, really got serious, and I've done a lot of research. I've had an expert on the show. It's actually a BPD expert. We have discussed several things like this, and I've like done a lot of it. It sounds almost that's what it's like a little bit too, because she also has bipolar one as well. So, there's also that being thrown into the mix too. So that's what it kind of sounds like a little bit, just from what, I'm hearing you say and things like that too, because I do have the fear of abandonment too, because my mom abandoned me when I was 10, just left me on a doorstep and left me with my dad kind of thing. And it was just horrible, and I didn't realize the ripple effect of everything that happened after that, why I was so angry. Every time I got into these certain situations, you go back to that moment and you just start freaking out. Like, you don't realize what it is that's triggering you, but you're just mad. And that sense of feeling you remember, because the body remembers all that. So when you go back to that, you're flashbacking to the feeling, but not the actual moment. You're not remembering the moment, but and it's kind of the same thing too. When I get in arguments with my partners and things like that too, I tend to do that too. I end up trying to leave before they can leave me, or I tell them to go, because I'm like, you're not going to get a chance to leave me before I can leave you, kind of thing. So I get that 100%.
I just wanna say I'm really sorry about that, about your mom.
Thank you so much. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been a rough relationship, but we're working on it. This past year, I've been going through a divorce and things like that as well. And I've had a lot of time to self reflect about a lot of stuff. I'm no longer allowing it to ruin my life and turning it into a power now. Because if I didn't have this situation happen, I would have never started this show. And I wouldn't be where I am now. I have this show and have a side project I do now, and a bunch of other stuff I do and things like that too. So I'm more understanding of a lot of situations, especially my girlfriend, her situation too. Is like, with BPD, a lot of their emotions are on, like, ours will be at 100, but hers will be at like 1,000. So she really feels it. So, like, I have to be very careful about the tone of voice, the way I say things to her, the way I even text her. You have to really think about what you're going to message, because when she reads it, she's either gonna take it the wrong way, or you're gonna be okay, and that's what you got to constantly worry about, and there's the fear of abandonment, the constant reassurance, which I don't mind. I get it, because it's like I said, I've done the research. I know these things. I've listened to things she's told me, and the things she's taught me and stuff like that too. So that's why I was just wondering if that was the case too, if you had an undiagnosed case, because it sounds like they're running really similar to both of those in a lot of ways.
But yeah, yeah, and I do a lot of things to really truly take care of my mental health, because it's it's rough, and so I guard my recovery, and I work
Hmm.
my program of recovery. And one of the things that I like to say anytime I'm doing any kind of a podcast or interview is, you know, I don't claim that there's only one way to recovery. I do talk about, the fact that I do work a program of recovery, but I don't
Hmm.
name it, so to speak,
Yeah.
just because, people find different ways to sobriety, and there's not one particular way to that. There are multiple different roads that can get you to where you need to be. But for me, I protect that, meaning I attend meetings, and I go and I tell my story and I listen. There's a woman right now who's texting me in sobriety. And so she's like, "Can I call you at 4 o'clock?" And so I'm available for women. I sponsor women as well, and I meet with them twice or
Well,
once a
there
week.
there are actually two other
So
people when we're done interviewing. We're gonna discuss this. I have a few friends of mine, Jay and Jasmine. I know y'all listen to the show. I'll be sending her your way, definitely. Especially Jasmine. She runs a
cool.
podcast in Canada called Everybody's Addicted. I guarantee she'd love to have you on as a recommendation from
Wow,
me.
cool. Love
So,
it.
but I think it's interesting though. So the faith aspect. Have you always been religious though? Is that a big part of your recovery too? Because I know a lot of people, have that higher power of whatever you want to call it, whatever. I jokingly tell people I pray to Crom, or the Conan the Barbarian's God or something. But I'm a man of faith, but I'm just not the type of person that sits here and
Yeah,
just shoves it down people's throat, because I think it's the way that people give it to you. You know what I mean? Like, people like to force feed
100%.
it to you, and it's like you just don't receive it that well. And you don't seem like the
Yeah.
type of person that does that to people. You're just like, hey, listen, this is what I'm doing.
Mhm.
It's more like, this is what worked for me, now, this could work for you, kind of thing. And I feel like that's your approach when you're coaching these guys. Like, listen, hey, this is what worked for me. I can give you these suggestions. Now, you'll have to figure out what works best for you. I'm not telling you that this is the only way. This is not I'm not trying to sell you like Billy Mays is trying to sell me some as seen on TV product. And that's what I
Yeah.
loved about your energy too, is just the way that you're presenting these things is that it's like, this is what happened to me. So I know when you released this book, you said you lost a lot of relationships with people and things like that too. But do you feel like they were meant to happen to be way? Because people are going to tell you your story's not right. Oh, you're making this up. How are you going to tell me my story is wrong when I'm the one telling you what I experienced? You know what I'm
And I
saying?
could
Like how?
yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You know
Well,
what I
and
mean? Like how?
I can't imagine someone just making up the shit
Yeah,
that I put in my book. Like, I can't
exactly. That's what
imagine
I'm
that
saying.
someone would want to expose themselves in that kind of way if it was if it was false. I just
Hmm.
and so that and Pete, you bring up another great point, and it's like, that's part of the reason, just for me, why I sent off for those official transcripts, court transcripts, and all of my medical records. I have never shown those to anyone. They're sitting in a private file, and hopefully nobody will ever read them because they're horrible. Like, all the stuff that came out with the e-files, right? That's come out,
Hmm.
like people going and reading all that stuff. I'm like, I lived through that shit. Don't do that to yourselves. Anyway, side note.
Yeah. No, I get you.
But it's like I needed to and I wanted to make sure that everything that went in that book was factual. Not that, because the two sides of my family, which happens a lot in divorce, hated each other and they were always talking shit. This one did this and this one did that. So I wanted to make sure that my memory was factual, that everything that went in the book was factual, not that this part of the family said this and I always
Yeah.
believed it. And so it was really important to me to get in there. And the reason that I lost, it had to do with the fact that the person who inflicted the most of the abuse, or 99% of the abuse, happened to be, their family member too, if you know what I'm saying. And so,
Yeah. No, I get you.
yeah, and so it's like I'm so sorry that, like, but I can't not tell my truth. I've been tasked with this and I'm going to tell the truth as it was. And I wanted to also kind of address the religious thing. So I will tell you, I'm not religious at all. So let me back up a little bit. When I was in my 20s, or no, when I was 19 years old, I met him. Okay. And he was going to save me from my childhood. He was going to
Hmm.
make me happy, fill in all those holes where I was, desperate for love, attention, affection, and he was going to fix me, because that's what you think at 19, is someone can come in your life and fix you. And we ended up getting married. My daughter's 28 now. We had a baby, and I just thought that that was going to be the end all be all. And his family was very, I won't say the denomination, but they were very dogmatic Christian,
Okay.
meaning,
Okay.
like, the women weren't allowed to wear pants. They couldn't wear jewelry. They da da da
Okay.
a list of all the things you can and cannot do.
Yeah. Yeah. The
And
type of
I
people
was
that make you really worry when it comes to religion. Those are I get where we're
yes.
going with this one. Yes. Okay.
Yeah, and here's what happened is that when we got divorced, all of those people turned their back on me. They were like, "Oh, you're not married to him anymore? Oh, now you're a harlot. Now you're we just whatever." And so what happened with that was I was faced with religious trauma. Like, I was traumatized by that because these were people I was very, very close with. And so it was devastating. So that was the only sort of, God that I was aware that existed. And so when
Yeah.
I got sober and I came into the program of recovery that I work, and I saw the G word on the wall, and I was like, oh, well, I guess I'm going to flunk this one because I don't, I mean, the God I knew,
Yeah.
where was
Exactly. You
he
would
when
have
that
just only
happened?
what you knew. Yeah. Okay. I
And
get you.
where was he when I was a kid? When that happened and that happened and that happened. You know what I mean? So thank God, again, the program that I work lets you choose your own conception of God. Sounds kind of woo wooey and weird, but let me tell you something. It worked for me. It worked for me. And the God that I met in the God that I met in my program of recovery, you might want to edit that out, was, my sponsor had me write down, what would your ideal God be like? And I was like, well, not anything like that one.
Yeah.
Damn you to hell for whatever. Compassionate, loving, forgiving. good, patient. And then that is the God that I created in my mind, and that's the God that I have today. So when people say, "Oh gosh, I can't get sober because I can't be religious," and I'm like, I'm not religious. I don't. People do, but I don't go to church,
Yeah.
and so it's just a different type of. The thing is,
I think you are religious, but it's in a way that it works best for you. You don't have to do it every way everyone else does. Like you're doing it the way that works best for Christy, not what everybody
true.
else wants Christy to do. You know what I'm saying? Like that. It's you do have faith, but it's like you're not gonna do it the way that everybody else is. Like church isn't for you. Okay, cool. That makes sense. Doesn't make you less of a Christian or any, it doesn't mean you're less of a person of faith of any way possible because like I'm the same way. I don't go to church, but people are like, oh, you should go. I'm like, I went one time, wasn't for me. Like I went to one church. It was the most interesting experience I've ever had in my life. Let me tell you that much. But it's like there's so many different religious faiths and different things. It's like however you do it is the best way for you to do it. And that's the way it was presented to me before I accepted faith because I was like, I had the same preconceived notions you did because that was the way I was interacted with the people just cramming out everything you do is a sin. This is a sin. That's a sin. It's like I don't want to be a part of that. I'm like, I'm good. If that's what it's like, just keep me out of it. I'm good. You can stay over here where I'm at, and things like that. So I think that you're still a person of faith and in some way, but it's the way it works best for Christy, which makes sense though to me because I'm the same way too, because what works for Pete works for Pete. And like I don't care if y'all don't like it how I do it, but I'm happy with my God the way I work. Me and him have conversations all the time. It's whatever works best for you. I think that I like that though. I like that you're not one of those people that fall into that crap and you're just like, oh, I'm going to do it just because everyone else is doing it. You're not one of the sheep. You're just like, well, I'm going to do it the way that works best for me. So like, hey, I'm good over here. Y'all can do whatever you want over there, but hey, listen, I'm just going to keep chilling over here.
Yeah. No, exactly. Yeah, for sure. And it's almost next month will be 11 years of sobriety.
Awesome. That's
Thankfully,
amazing.
yeah, thankfully it's been working this far, so I think I'll continue doing what I'm doing.
Exactly. Yeah. 11 years. Yeah. You do whatever you need to do. Keep going. That's what I'm saying. Every day you wake up, and you're not drunk, even better. You know what I'm saying? Every day of sobriety is just one day more you're in the right direction. And what works for you works for you. It's like, don't let people tell you you're wrong because how are you going to tell me what's wrong? If for 11 years this has worked for me, so who the hell are you to tell me what to do? And then make sure you
Oh,
drop the fact you're an award-winning author on there too with them. You got to make sure you give them that one too. Just drop it on them. Like, hey, by the way, just not to flex on you too much, but award-winning author over here too. Let me know when your credentials hit that part of it. You know what I'm saying?
oh my goodness. I try to be as humble as I
Oh, no, you
possibly
seem like the
can,
person
but
that's really like you're really cool like that, but you know what I'm saying? Like, if someone tries you, it's like, "Well, you're gonna find out I'm not the one. You got the wrong one over here," and
yeah,
it's
no, I
I
can
get it,
be a
though.
little scrappy if someone messes with my family, that's for sure.
Right. So, okay, so with the book, though, have you got great responses? You gotta have somebody giving you great responses, though. People that say they've enjoyed what they're reading, hey, enjoyed your story and things like that. I'm sure you've got a lot of those, yeah?
I've gotten there's been good reviews on Amazon, and I sort of released it to a litmus test group, if you will, which was really just my friends and family in the
Yeah.
beginning. And some of my family members, it's too close to home. So like one in particular, I was like, she can't read it. It's just too much for her. It's too much, too close. And so,
Yeah.
but everybody else that has read it has given me, good feedback from it. So
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for that. And the whole idea behind writing the book is really, it wasn't just to tell my story. The goal, like the overarching goal, is not to sell a million copies of it. It's really to get it into the hands of those who need it the most. So that when a woman is, let's say, sitting in prison and picks up this book and has her whole life struggled with drugs and alcohol and everything else, then she can see that, hey, this woman went through what I went through in
Yeah,
childhood,
exactly.
and
Yeah.
she was able to make it out. And so that's really, I want someone who,
You'll be an
like, I
inspiration
went
to
to a,
people's change and think I get it. I get it completely. I love it though. I think it's a great
yeah,
message. I mean, you can
I
sell a
hope to
million
get it.
copies. Listen, hey, if y'all want to pay a million copies, that'd be awesome too.
I
Because she's
mean,
like,
listen,
the
I
money would
can
be
make that
nice.
happen, but
She's like, the
I'd
money
love
would
to
be
give you.
nice, but yeah,
I
I
know.
do like it though. I do like the fact that you have a mission with the book and what you're trying to achieve, and it sounds like you're looking to more inspire people versus, try and peddle a book out to sell things. You enjoy what you were doing. But memoirs are so great because I read one about breast cancer and people looked at me weird every time I told them this. I said, I just finished reading this memoir. They said, would you read it? It's about breast cancer. Huh? I
Well,
was
I
like, "Yeah,
think
it's a
that's
double
great.
mastectomy I've always wanted" by Erica Newberg. It was a great book I read, and it was a real raw look into what the perspective of what a woman going through breast cancer is like. Erica even showed you the pictures of the aftermath of everything, the saw-like looking scars, and whoo,
My
man,
goodness.
you want a perspective in some shit. Let me tell you, that one was raw, real, and to the point as well, too, man. And I read it, and I told people I read it, and people were looking at me weird because I'm a guy. And I told Erica, I said, listen, you send me a copy of the book, I'll read it before you come on the show, and things like that. And I did. I read the whole book. I read it front to back. I read it. Me and her had a real conversation. You know, I thought it was interesting though. And I love memoirs because it's so interesting to read the stories of other people and how things go, and I look forward to reading it too. I really do because I want to see what it is. I kind of have my feelings of what it is based on what we're discussing here. Because a lot of times you can tell when people say certain words, it leads you to know like a little bit of the traumas and things. It's just things I picked up as I've gone through the show. I've done 300 plus interviews of this thing. By now I've learned a lot of things I pick up along the way. So I'm kind of curious to see how many things I'm right about, and just like okay, and then it's great because then at the same time you get to read a really good story and I can tell the people about it like, hey, listen, you got to check out this book I'm reading. And, and then they can look at me weird again. Like, hey, listen, I just read this book. You should read it too.
Well, I think it's great that you read the book. I think that's great.
Oh, I told you it was great. I loved it. It was an interesting perspective because Erica said that when people reached out, she said males were reaching out too, going, hey, listen, uh, I appreciate the book because now I understand what my partner who's dealing with cancer is dealing with and what their thought process is and the process they're going through and how she felt like less of a woman because, for anybody who doesn't know what a mastectomy is, it's basically they remove the breasts are removed, So Erica didn't have any. And Erica had to have reconstructive surgery and things like that. Had her, the whole had it tattooed on and all this stuff. It was really interesting to see. You're seeing this through the whole book. Like she literally just went bare shot. You saw it all. Like she was not afraid to release all this
What
stuff.
is
And
what's the name of
it's
that book
called
again?
it's called The Double Mastectomy I've Always Wanted. It's by
Okay, I'm gonna
Erica
look.
Newbert. I'll send you a link to the book definitely. But Erica was a good friend of the show. I got a copy of it, like I said, and it was something real. Let me tell you, it was something real and raw to read, man. But the pictures alone were just like, wow. Like it wasn't even the fact it's like you just say full front. And it's just the fact that she's showing you these things she's going through, and they're telling her these look good. And it looks like some stuff out of Scar. Like that's what she even refers to during our
Wow.
interview and things like that. And it was really interesting as well when she'd come on, we were talking about it. And it's like, dude, it's just real and raw, man. It was hard to read at times because you're like looking at this and you're like, holy crap, this is someone's life, And she's like, they're telling me the scars look good and they look like saw scars. So she kept calling them, and I was like, holy crap, the stitching was like, it was horrendous to look at, but it was just like, it was so interesting because you saw the perspective of what she's dealing with and then how she takes back her womanhood because she didn't feel like a woman at one point because, she didn't have any breasts. What do you
Yeah.
identify most with? It's like, it's like, okay, boobs are common with women a lot of times, saying like, that's the usual number one thing. Well, Erica was like, you watch her regain her power back because she's going through all these things and she's showing you the pictures of this step as it's happening. And it was an interesting book to read. And like I said, I got a little weird look, so I didn't care. I enjoyed it. I didn't care what people thought about what I was thinking. I was
Yeah.
like,
Who cares? Who cares what people think? That's all.
I'm the first one to tell you I don't give a shit what people think. So, but it's definitely an interesting book to read for sure. I'll have to send you a link to what the book is. But Erica's a good friend of the show too. So she was really cool and everything like that. I still follow her to this day and things like that. Look out for anything else she may write after that. But it was really, she said that a lot of the stuff she kept getting was like, a lot of guys kept messaging her saying that the partners of the other people are like, hey, I appreciate what you're doing and things like that too. So you'll never know. Maybe you'll start getting those too because it's only been August since this book has been out. And by the time this episode airs in March or April, whenever it comes out, people start seeing it. People go check it out. Maybe you'll get some more responses like that from people say, hey, listen, my wife or somebody I know could really use this book. I gifted it to them and, and your story helped them and, things like that as well. So that's hopefully the outcome of this thing is to get more spread and things like that for you to other people so they can check out the book, because obviously it's an award-winning book. It's really good. People obviously want to read it. So why not get some more people out there to read it?
Love it. I would love to get it in treatment centers for women, like rehabs and stuff like that. I mean, I
Hmm.
feel like if I had been, because I did go to a 30-day inpatient rehab to get sober, and I feel like, I feel like if I had seen a book like that and you have nothing to do, you have nothing but time on your hands. I mean, obviously there's structured stuff to go to and all of that. But then there's a lot of free time. And so to read a book like that and to have known that, wow, okay, when I get out of here, there's hope for me,
Exactly.
because that was part of it. I was like, I'm great in rehab because there's no alcohol in rehab. But I have
Right.
to go out after 30 days and I have to live in this real world where I can walk to the convenience store or whatever. I can go down the street and get whatever I want. It's all right there.
Exactly.
And so just to be able to read something like that and to know that, hey, when I get out of here, this woman's been sober for 10 years. Holy crap. That seems like when you are sitting in rehab, 10 years, even 2 or 3 or 5 years sounds like the heavens have opened up. Like, holy shit, because I couldn't stay sober one day. So when you talk about, 10 years, it's like, what? Oh my God, that gives me hope, you know?
Right, exactly. Well, Christy, as we start getting ready to wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety, I am going to ask you two questions, okay? One of them is just a fun one I've asked to a lot of people I picked up from a friend of mine. So the question to you that I ask everybody is that if your mental health had a song, what would you say that song would be? This is a good question. I'm telling you, this is a good question. We had
You're gonna laugh. Okay, the first song that came to mind was Michael Jackson's Beat It.
okay, Beat It came up once already. Yep,
Okay, I don't know why, but that seems strange, but my mind, maybe because it's like a drum, it's always beating in different directions.
it could be.
I don't
That's
know.
true. So yeah, that's not the first time Michael Jackson mentioned Beat It was mentioned by somebody else this morning. What was it? Kelly Clarkson, I think it was this morning. And it's always a fun question because it's like it's interesting to hear people's perspectives because I'm like I tell people that I'm like you can break it down however you want. Like my anxiety song is Artificial Suicide by Bad Omens, but then my depression songs were Turn the Light On, Leave the Light On, Tuck Away the Dark by Papa Roach, and then it was A Different Kind of Pain by Cold. So because music's a big inspiration in my life. I listen to music a lot of times and things like that too. I'm always listening to different kind of music, things like that. The actual song for this season's actually one is actually by a good friend Note. He actually wrote the song for this season's opener and things like that. Last season it was Let Me Bleed, what is it? Is It Me? And they were big supporters of the show and things like that too. Said I could use their songs and things like that. So it's been great, having different people come on, these artists come on, get their perspectives on things. So my next question, and the reason I started this podcast is if you could break the stigma about mental health. Now, you could use recovery for yours. You could do whatever you want to say. What do you think the one thing you would say you want to break the stigma about?
Oh my goodness, so much. So I'm gonna give you the shortest version I know how. So about 90, I would say 99 to 90, 98 to 90% of people who are in active addiction, early recovery, long-term recovery, have addiction issues at all, have mental health issues. So these two
Hmm.
things are very, very closely woven together, unfortunately. But fortunately, getting a proper diagnosis of, like, if you're watching this or listening to this and you are struggling with anxiety, ruminating thoughts, thoughts of suicide, even just, gosh, I can't get that one thing out of my mind. Maybe it's OCD, maybe it's, who knows? But I would implore you to go and get yourself checked out by a mental health professional. Please don't use ChatGPT or Google.
God, yes, somebody says it
That
finally.
that is,
Finally, somebody.
yeah. Please, for the love, go and get officially diagnosed. And then also, I would say, if you're struggling with drugs or alcohol, there is no shame in reaching out and getting help. And you
Exactly.
don't have to take it as far down as like someone like me where I'm unemployable and if your life feels like unmanageable and you keep having these same things happen in your life where, you know, oh, I had 14 shots last night and I made an ass of myself and maybe I should slow down. It's okay to reach out for help even if you're just at that point. Because what I don't want to have happen is you have mental health, it goes unchecked, you self medicate with drugs and alcohol.
Love it. Absolutely. Chrissy, thank you so much for coming to being a guest on the show today. I appreciate you being here. Chrissy, before we sign off, why don't you plug where everybody can find you? What's the best place to reach you? And of course, go check out the book, guys. Shadows of Serenity. Definitely please check it out. for her because, you know, we love her. We love her energy. We love her energy here. We loved having her here. We want you to go support her, of course. So, Christi, lay it on them. Where's the best place they can find you? Awesome. I love it, Christi. Thank you so much again for being here. You know, and we appreciate you coming. If you decide to write anything else in the future, let us know. We'd love to invite you to come back and be a guest again. It was great having you. You know, and with that being said, guys, we're gonna wrap up this episode of Pete vs. Anxiety. You guys know where to find me on Pete vs. Anxiety. I'm on X all the way down to TikTok. I'm on Spotify all the way down to Pandora Radio. And as I always say, it costs nothing, absolutely nothing to be kind to somebody. One kind act you can do can save someone's life, or hell, you can make their day. I'm Pete vs. Anxiety signing off saying, don't ask how your day is today. Say, hey, how's your mental health?